Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Can I take this off? Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming out on this cold day. We're happy to be here for the BRCC meeting. If I could get you all to take your seats, we'll get started. I'm Cynthia Edwards. I'm with the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. I'm filling in for Secretary Ward today. He was unable to be here due to a last-minute schedule conflict, but I'm happy to fill in for him. I believe we do have Secretary Keogh online, as well as Dr. McMullen. I can't see the screen, so I'm hoping they are there. I think they are. Great. We have a pretty full agenda today, so And I want to start off by thanking, though, Ruth Pepler and her family for a tremendous luncheon tour. I'm so sorry all of you all did not get to participate in that. It was absolutely delicious, and they have an amazing operation out there. So I hope if you get a chance, you'll please go by there and see that sometime. It's amazing. And Ruth will be here a little bit later, so you can talk to her in person about that. We have a lot of guests here today. I think what we may just do is go around the room and let everybody introduce themselves before we get started with the agenda. We'll start with you, Senator Irwin. Thank you.
Here we are. So many hats. Program manager for Buffalo National River. Hi, everyone. Sorry.
Gerald Tree, Executive Director, Greater Searcy County Chamber of Commerce.
Neil Mays, Engineering Services, here today representing the city of Marshall on the sewer.
I'm Clyde, I'm the Searcy County Cooperative Extension Agent. Robin Merrick, representative from District 98, going to be District 5.
Richard Pepler, Douglas Gaspar, Margaret Person,
Kevin Elliott, I'm the Mayor of the City of Marshall. Chris Harris, Deputy Director for Arkansas Rural Water Association.
Gene Higginbotham, District Director, Country Bruce Wayne.
Brittany Parker, Senator Cotton Central Arkansas.
Matt Nair, Arkansas Office of Outdoor Recreation in the Arkansas Department of Heritage and Tourism. Brian Benfield with the Natural Resources Division of the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. Senator Painter, District Director.
Board of Watkins, Farm and Capital Business, Department of County, and President of Buffalo River Watershed.
Andrew Hendricks, advisor for Marshall FFA. These are the Marshall FFA officers for the lack of time. I'm Jeff Swellman, the Heritage Daily.
Thank you. I know we had quite a few online. If anyone online would like to introduce themselves, we'll allow time for that now. Okay, hearing none, we will call on the, oh, okay.
Vixen James with the Denton County Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Richard McMullen. I represent the Arkansas Department of Health on behalf of Secretary Renee Mallory.
And I'm Caleb Osborne with the Department of Parks, Heritage, and Tourism, joining today to represent our department on behalf of Secretary Hurst.
Thanks, Caleb.
I'm Tim Jones, District Ranger in the Big Piney Ranger District of the Ozark St. Francis National Forest.
And I'm Rick Monk, forest hydrologist on the Ozark St. Francis.
John Ray with the Buffalo River Watershed Alliance.
Pam Setzer with Mountain View Chamber of Commerce.
Hey, Cynthia, this is Roger with the Nature Conservancy. How are you?
Hi, Roger. Thank you. All right.
I'm Dale James. I'm the county judge in Van Buren County. Daryl Bowman, Fisheries Division, Arkansas Game and Fish Commission.
No. Anyone else?
I'm Peggy Bulla from the Highlands chapter of the Ozark Society.
Thank you.
I'm Marty Olison from Lost Valley Canoe and Lodging in Ponca and the Buffalo River Watershed Alliance.
And I'm Greg Vickers, Ecosystem Staff Officer on the Ozark St. Francis National Forest.
Cynthia, this is Becky Keogh. I am on the phone. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep it mute. I have some background noise where I'm at, so I'm trying to listen closely, but I wanted to let people know I hate to not be there with everyone, but looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Secretary Kidd. We certainly understand, and we'll be able to give you a chance to make a few remarks at the end too, if you would like. Anyone? Okay. All right. Again, thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. And I think we'll move right into the agenda. We'll start with our updates from our focus area working groups. And our first one up is the cost share programs for agriculture. If you'll just come to the microphone there in the middle so everyone can hear you, that should work out fine.
As I said earlier, I'm Jeff Rizzo. I'm the district forester for District 6 with the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. So today I'll give a kind of a project description and an update of the cost share programs that are being utilized in the watershed. The first one I'd like to talk about Buffalo River Watershed Enhancement. This is actually a regional conservation partnership program in RCPP. Locally, it's the acronym we refer to it. That is a partnership between the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Natural Resource Conservation Service, and local partners, including the Nature Conservancy, Arkansas Department of Agriculture, Game and Fish, University of Arkansas Division of Ag, the Buffalo River Foundation, and the Buffalo River Conservation District. So for this year, we've actually have 38 projects that are contracted and be impacting 214 acres in the watershed. These projects are currently undergoing archaeological and cultural resource inspections. Once these are completed, implementation can begin. Another one of the big programs that we have been using in the watershed is the Joint Chiefs Landscape Restoration Partnership Program. And through this program, this was a partnership between the USDA, NRCS, and the U.S. Forest Service. And they have provided funding for a project in Arkansas titled Building Resilient Watershed to Improve Drinking Water in the Ozarks and Ouachita Highlands. With this program, we've actually this year been able to contract 41 projects that'll be impacting 829 acres in the watershed. Again, these projects are under review with the cultural resource and archaeological inspections. Once completed, work should begin on these projects. Another program I'd like to mention is the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. This is administered by the Natural Resource Conservation Service. This is a widely used program, not only in the watershed, but all over the state, specifically in the watershed forestry. Well, we have actually been able to prepare 7 forest management plans covering 787 acres. These plans are planning for forest stand improvement and forest health improvement. Another program we use is the U.S. Forest Service Forest Stewardship Program. This program is also one that is used all over. Utilized in the watershed for this year is one forest stewardship plan for 240 acres. The Forest Stewardship Program enables landowners to make connections with management partners, and we can actually have a long-term management plan, 10, 15, 20 that can years out, they can be renewed. It's a great program. Lastly, I'd like to mention the U.S. Forest Service Community Fire Protection Program. Locally, a lot of the time, if you're talking with your local forestry folks, we call it Stevens burning. This program we have used to complete 996 acres of prescribed fire on the ground in the watershed. This program The main partner with this program is actually the Arkansas Department of Ag Forestry Division. So anybody that's interested, contact your local forestry office. They'll be able to help you determine if you're eligible and start working towards implementation. That's my report. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Y'all been busy and a lot of good work's getting put on the ground through those programs. Thank you very much for that. Next up, we have a report about the unpaved road program. I think, Ryan, are you going to do that one and the next one as well? Okay.
So here's the first one, copy of just a written report with some pictures of the unpaved roads projects. You would take one and pass them on. And then I'm going to go ahead and start with the next, which is our water and wastewater project summary also. For those of you in the audience at least. So first, we're going to talk about the unpaved roads projects we have going in the watershed. There are three. The first one is the Cave Mountain Road project. So many of you have known, we've announced in the past that this had a small delay due to some issues with some federally endangered species. However, that the final environmental assessment was completed and closed, and we're hoping that project work will continue on that soon. It is in progress, but it should be free to start up again. The second one, and you can see photos in the packet here of the different projects. The Cane Branch Road project is complete. And then the last one that's currently ongoing that we're working on is the Cave Creek project, which will be doing several things. In addition to improving the road, it'll also be adding some more stream connectivity for species there. And that project is in progress and hoping to be completed early next year.
Do we have any questions about the unpaved road program projects? All right, Ron, thanks for that update. We'll let you lead right into the water and wastewater system infrastructure.
All right, this is going to be rather quick because we have some other presentations to follow. But the first one I wanted to update you on is the Marble Falls Sewer Improvement District project. So we awarded that improvement district a grant and a loan to begin work. They have been working on getting the paperwork and the plans and specs ready. We anticipate plans and specs being submitted in early spring of 23, and then work would follow shortly after that, after bids are received. I should note also that several of these projects also have additional applications in with us right now for additional funding through some other opportunities we have available. The second one, City of Jasper, as I mentioned last quarter, we've had some delays in completing the first part of that project, which was the pump station due to some foundation issues. But that has been progressing and hopefully work will start back up on that pump station soon. And then the last one is the expansion of the septic tank program, but I'm going to defer to Stephanie, who's going to give a full presentation on that later in the meeting.
Great. Any question about the sewer rehab, the water and wastewater projects? Ron will be happy to take your questions. All right. Thank you very much. Next up is tourism and tourism impacts.
All right. So this is Caleb Osborne from Parks, Heritage, and Tourism. As long as Cynthia doesn't start waving her arms frantically, I'm assuming y'all can hear me. In terms of tourism impacts, a couple things we did want to highlight. I believe that Matt McNair is there with y'all in person. He is from our outdoor recreation grants program. They are our program that works with communities to help provide grants for various outdoor recreation opportunities. I encourage you all, if you have a chance, spend some time chatting with him about ideas you may have or projects that may be in the works. This is something that we want to continue that engagement on. Another item that we have been asked about some recently, and I want to be sure that everyone is aware of is going on, is that the state of Arkansas will experience a full solar eclipse in April of 2024, April 8th of 2024 to be exact. Per our countdown on our website, I think it's 500 something days from now. Seems like a long ways off, but there's a lot to do in planning and preparation for that. And so our communications and our tourism teams from the department are actively engaged with communities around kind of across the state. The path is going to cut southwest to northeast, and parts of this watershed will be included in that. We anticipate a lot of visitors, a lot of visitation, a lot of tourism lot of folks coming to experience our state and hang around to hopefully get a really good view or experience of the solar eclipse itself. So anyway, for those of you all representing communities or organizations that may be interested in learning more, if you will reach out to us, and we are more than happy to work with you, have our team come and present. We're trying to make the rounds to as many folks as we can and provide those materials. There's also, if you go to arkansas.com /eclipse, there are some material or some information about the day, some of the things to be thinking about for planning. But for the community level, for whether it's an education piece, an emergency services piece, a tourism hospitality piece, we have some other resources we can help connect you with that. And our team would be more than happy to come spend some time with you. So reach out to me or reach out to if you can reach out to Autumn or Cynthia or others, they can direct you to me. My information should be on all of the meeting invite and other stuff that's gone out there, and we'll connect you with the right folks from our team. But that's one we've had some questions about recently, and as we turn the page to 2023, then 2024 will be here very quickly. So those are a couple things we wanted to highlight. Other things going on, tourism continues to do well. The 50th anniversary of the Buffalo has received a lot of attention nationally, and our tourism division has been tracking that. We've had some really big wins in drawing attention to the special opportunity and the special places we have there. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Caleb. Any questions for Caleb?
I have a question, Caleb.
Yes, Senator.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How many folks are you estimating will come into the state for this eclipse? Or do you even have an estimate?
I don't have those numbers in front of me, but we have received some feedback from folks in other states. I know particularly the state of Wyoming. We work closely with some of their team based on the most recent past eclipse that came through. And they had very, very large numbers of folks coming through. So we think in particular corridors of the state, we stand to have very high traffic, high volume groups of folks. A lot of what we're doing right now is helping communities think about how they plan, because I think it's on a Monday is the date that it'll be, try to get people to stay through the weekend and through the first part of the week so that we can, one, they can enjoy Arkansas, which is wonderful, and learn that there's a lot of fun stuff here besides the eclipse to experience, but also to spread it out for traffic, for emergency services reasons, other things, that would impact you all on the health side. So we've worked with, I think we've had some folks from Health Department have participated in some of those conversations, folks from Department of Ed. We've talked with RDOT, talked with DPS. So there's a few other agencies we've been trying to share proactively with, because that was one of the biggest pieces of feedback we got from the folks in Wyoming, as they said, there's a lot of planning you need to do. They were talking about people putting in their orders for porta potties, 18 months, 24 months ahead of time, so they're going to be prepared. And so we know a lot of communities are doing that, but we want to continue spreading the word so that others can keep planning and take advantage of the lead time that we do have.
Yeah, you touched on one of the topics that was kind of top mind for me, and that was just, if I recall, reports of just traffic congestion, right? And that can be a big deal if it's not, properly planned for.
Yeah. I think it was in Wyoming or Montana. They had to airlift the governor because they couldn't get him from like one place back to the state capitol for some binding or some important event or meeting that was going on, because he was stuck on one part of the state because traffic congestion was so bad. So pretty remarkable. I mean, it's amazing to think about the potential for tourism and visitation and a chance to highlight the state. But it is something we want to be sure we plan for. So the memory is the great experiences they had, not, man, we sat in a traffic jam for 18 hours. So anyway, and I know kind of the northern half, and we can share an image. I don't have it yet, but we'll share this that can go out to the group. But sort of the sweep of where it's supposed to come across the state, and it's supposed to cut, right through, kind of like I said, southwest and northeast through. The watershed will be in a portion of kind of the northern northern REITs that should have a very good exposure to this. So definitely something we can be planning for and thinking ahead about what's coming.
Caleb, I'll add to that to answer your question, Dr. McMullen. We do anticipate this. We're looking at it as this will likely be the largest influx of people from outside of the state coming into Arkansas in the state's history. We're probably talking tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of people coming into the state.
So something to look forward to. If y'all have questions, let us know. We have some folks who really have dug in deep on this and have kind of a toolkit and some ideas to help share. So we're happy to provide that.
Caleb,
That's
this
all
is
we got.
Senator Irvin. Caleb, this is Senator Irvin, and I appreciate
Oh,
that update. I asked the department to give an update about this because we have the Van Buren County Judge Dale James is on the Zoom today, as well as Pam Setzer with the Mountain View Chamber of Commerce. I know Daryl Treat with the Searcy County Chamber of Commerce has a committee already planning for this. My concern is logistics. I'm concerned about traffic. I'm concerned about restrooms. I'm concerned about, places for people to put their RVs. And so I think we have to be very intentional about this and try to be as coordinated as possible so that we're not just super overwhelmed by the numbers. I know just in discussion, there have been groups, that are stargazer groups. I'm not sure how else to describe that, but groups that are coming or that have already contacted that from other states. And so I think the estimate was correct. We could have potentially hundreds of thousands of people that come here from outside of the state of Arkansas with no place to stay, no place to go to the bathroom. We have to really think through this as far as accommodations. And so while we're on this topic, I think, infrastructure, temporary infrastructure is really going to be important for the state. And so I would ask that the secretaries take this back and that we really be focused on this from the state of Arkansas as a government support to these communities, the counties and the cities and the chambers of commerces, particularly, that are going to be really ground zero with this, but we as a state need to come in with some support. And then I really need for y'all to develop some sort of a toolkit for property owners so that they have a checklist if they do decide to open up their property for people to stay on their property. We need a toolkit for those individuals because that's probably going to have to happen. So I know there are people developing RV resorts on Greers Ferry Lake that have been in contact with me. I've invited them to be part of this meeting today, but I know I'm speaking this way and everybody's back here, but for my lawmakers, Stetson and Ron, we have to really kind of try to wrap our head around this and try to push this, I think, as intentionally as possible. So if it's okay, I'd love for Dale James to kind of talk about what Van Buren County has kind of done. And then Daryl Treat, if you want to talk, and then also our forestry partners.
Sure. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. I'm Dale James. I'm the Van Buren County Judge. What we have done, we already have an event, a very large event that happens in Van Buren County every year, which is the National Championship Chuck Wagon Races. It's a very large ranch. They cater to campers and to RVs and such. And they are going to pull in a major brand concert for that week. Events are going to start the weekend prior to. We're planning in Van Buren County on 100,000 visitors at a minimum. The city of Fairfield Bay is also booking a concert entertainment venue. We have some very good north-south infrastructure on 65. We're not necessarily too concerned about ingress and egress. We have the options already placed down and on porta potties. We're still developing the website to make sure we get the word out that we are the destination. We are right in the center of the center line, so we get the longest part of totality. And we're excited about the event and the opportunity. And we've got to seize this opportunity, not just to be a good host one time, but to get these people to come back to Van Buren County, back to Arkansas, and get more of their dollars, since we've got a captive audience on which to sell ourselves.
Well, at the Chamber of Commerce in Searcy County, we're trying to be the umbrella organization for all the Eclipse activities, and each individual community will take their lead, and then we'll help with promotion of what they're doing throughout the entire county. We have a logo that we ran through a contest here in our Chamber of Commerce, and our logo is called Eclipse Over the Buffalo. It's a very nice logo. And we know a lot of people are going to plan to do the eclipse on the Buffalo River. However, in April, the river could be raging and there could be no one on the river, or it could be placid and there could be a lot of people on the river. It could be sleeting, or it could be hot. There could be tornadoes, or there could be not. It's a very hard time frame to plan for. And so, you know, people will be putting putting vehicles in their fields, which can be a real mud issue that time of year. So there's a lot of things to think about. We've already reserved porta potties here in Searcy County just to grab a hold of some. And we know there's a lot of work to be done as we go forward. But we want to work with our communities because we want to make money off of this. That's the whole thing, is we want to bring some money into what is a very poor county.
Thank you. All right.
Yes, this is Tarona Armstrong, the acting superintendent at Buffalo, and I totally agree with Senator. We're in the process of having these discussions, not only here at Buffalo, but along within Arkansas National Parks, Little Rock Central High School, National Historic Site, Hot Springs National Park, President Clinton Site. All of these superintendents are beginning to have the discussion on what actually does this look like for the state of Arkansas. And some of the conversations are actually around exactly where they're going to go to bathroom. You know, a lot of these parties are already been booked up, and also housing and activities. And also we all would like to make sure that our counties are receiving funding, making some funds off of this great event that's going to hit the state of Arkansas. Even though I'm acting here at Buffalo, I am an Arkansan. I am from Lee County. So this is just quite as important to me as well as the rest of you here in Arkansas.
Sure. Hi, this is Melissa Katie again. I'm the Resource Program Manager for Buffalo National River. It is weird to talk this direction. Sorry. I think, as many of you know, we're already facing some capacity issues at some of our recreation sites as it is during the busy season, even without this event going on. So we have been evaluating ways to accommodate more parking and more people at some of our larger campsites along the river. We're also in the process of renewing compliance for our special use events for special large groups events. And so that's going to have to take into consideration planning for this kind of activity as well. So I don't think we're by any means even close to ready for it, but it is kind of on the radar. It comes up at every meeting we have, and we're kind of trying to figure out what we're what we're going to do, just like everybody else is. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else want to give an update on what they're doing in preparation for this exciting event? That there's a lot being done, like there's a lot more to be done, and it is quite a challenge. It's exciting, and it has an opportunity for the state, but there's a lot of moving pieces to it. So thank you all for getting a head start on that.
I did have a comment from the U.S. Forest Service.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. So we're just like the Buffalo National River, talking to other partners and forests across the country that have experienced similar planning for this event, and also are experiencing that overwhelmed nature of our recreation areas. The Forest Service does provide quite a bit of dispersed camping And so we are looking and starting to talk about planning for that, as well as fire protection, depending on the weather, which I thought Beryl Treat did a great job of laying out the unknown conditions. But it's definitely on our radar also in planning for the recreational uptake. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that report and update. All right, next on our agenda, we're going to hear from Tim Jones, the District Ranger, the Big Piney Ranger District, on the Roberts Gap project and some water quality sampling. I believe Tim is online.
Yes, I am. I'm going to be sharing my screen. I apologize not being there in person with the time change. Rick and I were unable to join. So I have shared my screen. I do have just a quick PowerPoint to go through. The Roberts Gap project area is in the northwest corner of the Big Piney Ranger District. You know, and so the next slide I'm going to show is from the Buffalo Tower in 1937. So this area has had quite a bit of change over time. From 1937 until now, you know, this area had a lot of intermixed private lands and still does. 37% of the project area is in private lands, but there were a lot more development of farms and homesteads in that time. And now on the Forest Service lands, much of the ground, much of the forested area is much older. Over 86% of the forest area is over 70 years old. So 3 years ago, we started planning for the Roberts Gap environmental assessment, and the project really focused on the purpose and need of the recreational improvements needed, and then also dealing with the fuel and forest health issues going on in that area. And the area has been really impacted by ice storms and red oak borer damage. So with quite a bit of public involvement from many of the groups that are in the room, we worked through that process and had a decision in October of 2021. So this past year, we have continued with road maintenance, working on about 18 miles of road in the area to improve those water control structures and just, you know, trying to minimize that erosion off of those gravel roads. But part of the decision was to conduct some water quality monitoring that in a moment my partner Rick Monk's going to join us and talk about. Rick's the forest hydrologist here in the Ozark St. Francis National Forests. So the purpose of the water quality monitoring is really before we do any ground disturbing activities to replicate some past studies of impacts from these land management activities. And so he has been conducting water quality sampling at a number of different sites in the headwaters area of the Buffalo, but also the headwaters of a number of other watersheds important in the state that all flow out of the Roberts Gap project area. So implementation plans for fiscal year 23 and beyond, I just want to give a brief update on that. This is the project area as a whole. The project includes quite a bit of improvements to recreation and offerings and working with partners to build and expand the Upper Buffalo mountain bike trail system, but also to improve access to Whitaker Point, improve the parking and the trail into that area, but then also address those forest health concerns with a number of 1,000 acres of thinning, and then also some regeneration acres, as well as prescribed burning on about a third of the project area. And so going into fiscal year 23, which we've already started, we are moving forward with planning of prescribed burning in the area. We've got about 4,000 acres of prescribed burning that's planned, weather dependent and condition dependent, in the winter months between now and next spring. And those are specifically in the western portion around Smith Ridge, and then also in the county line area. Also in fiscal year 23, we're continuing to finish and prepare timber sales in that area, and we'll put on the market 2 different timber sales that are mostly thinning of pine and hardwood stands. to improve forest health. Now, the actual implementation of those timber sales is dependent on whoever purchases that timber sale. They have a window of time, a contract period to complete that timber removal, which is over 4 years. So I don't have a good estimate on when that actual timber removal will begin. But along the way, we're also going to be continuing to work with Ozark off-road cyclists on the improvement and maintenance of the Upper Buffalo mountain bike trail system. We're working with them right now with their new leadership. They have new leadership coming in January to revise and update our memorandum of understanding with them. And then in addition, we're going to continue to work with Madison and Newton County on Title II improvements and maintenance of road systems, as well as our lighting and road maintenance contracts to continue to improve and reduce that erosion on, again, about 18 miles of road planned in fiscal year 23. So I'm going to turn it over to Rick if there's any other questions before I turn it over to Rick about the project or implementation in 23.
First of all, let me just check and make sure that you can actually see the presentation. Is that correct? See that?
Yes.
The slideshow. Okay. I'm going to share my screen then. Again, good afternoon. My name is Rick Monk. I'm the forest hydrologist on the Ozark St. Francis National Forest. I'm going to share with you just a little bit about the water monitoring that we've been doing and the upcoming water actual sampling that will be related to this project. Okay, so here's a map, just a kind of an outline of the entire area. One thing, well, right here's the, if you can see my cursor, here's the Buffalo National River corridor. You can see the Upper Buffalo Wilderness area, and all this gray area. Tim alluded to the amount of private land, and you can see that in this map. Here's a little bit closer up view, and I just want to, on this, point out some of the monitoring sites. These little blue diamonds are the monitoring sites. This is Dixon Ford down here at the bottom, and Boxley just above Smith Creek is up here. I've also got Knuckles Creek that I'm monitoring, Edgemond Creek, Kings River is over here to the west, and along with Mink Creek, and then the very upper reaches of the White River down here to the kind of the southwest. The things that I'm monitoring for at each of these sites is pH, conductivity, temperature, and turbidity. And I think, to me, the turbidity is the main one that I'm really looking at. And I'll get to some of those results in just a minute. I also alluded to some actual water sampling. I'm waiting on a good runoff event right now. I've been waiting since about April for a good runoff event. We just haven't had enough rain to get a good flushing of everything. But whenever that does occur, I've got 2 sample sites planned. One will be at Dixon Ford on the Buffalo River, and then the Kings River. The things I'll be sampling for are glyphosate, triclopyr, imazapyr, and methylfuron methyl. Those are the 4 that we have in the environmental assessment that we have available for use. I wanted to get one as soon as I can as kind of a background reading. And then after we actually start beginning some chemical applications and treatments, the first runoff event that we get after that treatment, I'll sample that also, and we'll only sample it though for the whatever chemicals we actually use in the area above the watershed there. Few results of some of the monitoring so far. Move this over. Here's pH, and one of the things that strikes me on this particular slide is this upper one is Buffalo River at Boxley, and believe it's this one is is Buffalo River at Dixon Ford. And you can see that they kind of parallel each other, but after running over about 15 miles of limestone between Dixon Ford and Boxley, it really increases the pH for the whole river. You can also see here that there's a lot of just natural variability. I've been doing this since October of 21, about every 6 weeks or so on average. You can see that there really is a tremendous amount of variability just naturally occurring in each of these streams. Here's conductivity. The striking thing on this is that all of these are starting to go up some in the last few months because of the drought. Lower reaches of the Buffalo are really increasing in conductivity. I think that this is just because of a lack of dilution, because there's just not a lot of rainwater going into the river. Again, we haven't done anything up there yet, so this is all just natural variability as far as I can tell. Lastly, turbidity. Again, you can see the natural variability in here, and it actually increases the turbidity as it dries up, again, because of that lack of dilution. So some of these things are really interesting to see how much they vary all by themselves. For future reference, the things I'm going to be looking for, mainly turbidity. It is possible we'll see a little bit of increased turbidity, especially higher up in the watersheds. As we get down lower, there's more water that gets added to those, and any effects are tremendously diluted. Of course, we don't expect anything significant to come out of this, but we do want to monitor just in case, just to make sure that we're not affecting the water quality in the area. That's all I had, a very brief description of some of the monitoring and upcoming sampling that we plan to do for the Roberts Gap project. Does anyone have any questions about this presentation? If not, well, thank you for your time, and we look forward to meeting with you again.
Thank you very much. All right. Next up, we have Mayor Kevin Elliott with the Sewer Rehab and Extension Project discussion.
I am the mayor of Marshall, have been for the last 8 years. I've actually worked for the city for the last 28 years. Infrastructure is what we've been working on for the last 8 years. And in the last 8 years as mayor, we have received a little over $9 million in grant money, thanks to Senator Irvin and representatives and Arkansas Natural Resources and USDA. But our infrastructure, we've been replacing 1946 water lines. We've got 1962 sewer lines that are falling apart. I've asked the engineers, ESI, Tim Mays, Deputy Director of Arkansas Rural Waters, Chris Harris. He used to work for the city years ago. He knows a lot about the sewer system. But we've had smoke tests done over and over, trying to stop our infiltration. When it comes a big rain, I mean, we've got a new sewer plant. We can hold it all, but I mean, it'll max it out lots of times as far as our being able to control it and work it like it's supposed to. So we are, asking for this, a $5 million grant for a rehab project, do some sewer extensions. We've got several houses here inside the city limits that are still on septics. We know we are in the watershed of the Buffalo National River. So this project that we're working on right now will roughly take 70 septic systems out of the system. So like I said, that's huge for this area. But more importantly is just, getting the old lines replaced where the infiltration, leakage coming in, leakage going out and stuff. So all that stuff will be replaced. So these two gentlemen here don't care because, like I said, with Arkansas Rural Water and stuff, I mean, they done all the smoke tests. Chris can tell you more about that. Engineers can tell you more about what the project actually is.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Cynthia. My name is Tim Mays with Engineering Services. We're working with the City of Marshall and have been working with the City of Marshall and Senator Urban on trying to obtain funding for 3 areas of sewer rehab. As the mayor mentioned, the piping was installed in the early 1960s. It consists of clay tile pipe and actually concrete pipe. And so it's piping back then was not manufactured at the same standard that it is today. Today there are gaskets. Back then the gaskets, if they were there, they are gone by now. So as the ground becomes saturated, the sewer main takes on groundwater, and that groundwater mixes with the wastewater, and ultimately at times, I hate to say it, but at times it overflows at manholes during hard rain events. And so since this is so close to some sensitive streams and the river, you know, we're hoping that funding can be obtained. There are 3 basic areas. I have passed out a layout map: Church Street extensions, then Pecan Street, and then what we're calling the Forest Creek replacement. Those are the 3 areas of replacement or rehabilitation that we are looking at. The other area is back to the west, kind of the northwest side of Marshall, is an area of homes that are currently on septic systems, and we're proposing to run about 2,000 feet of sewer to collect the wastewater from those homes. Arkansas Rural Water has done smoke testing in some of the older part of town. And so there's some old information and known fractures in the pipeline, the existing pipeline. And we're hoping just to make it a better system overall and certainly improve on what was done 60 years ago. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments on the project? Or any questions? All right. Well, thank you for that overview. We appreciate it. Next up, we have the Marshall FFA. We're happy to have the chapter here, a part of the chapter here, and I think we're going to get a report on some projects they're working on.
Yes, we'd like to thank Secretary Westward and Daryl Treat for the invitation to come today. What a great opportunity for these kids, because they are agriculture and you are agriculture, and one day they will be in your spot. So we really appreciate you guys taking the time to allow them to come. At this time, I'm going to let my president and reporter to come up and tell you about what they are doing.
Hi, I'm Sherry Horton, and I'm the Marshall FFA chapter president. I am Kelsey Wallace. I am the reporter of the Marshall FFA. Okay, we've wrapped up at our community and district fairs where we have had a great participation. For our first year, we've learned to can fruits and vegetables. The apples that were used for the apple butter came from our own trees that we grew. And for our animal science classes, we've been working closely with Dr. Blair and vaccinating cattle. Our shop classes have been working on projects such as horseshoe art to sell for fundraising. Our officer team has attended the Farm Bureau banquet, and we've attended community events such as the Trunk or Treat, and we made ornaments for our veterans on Veterans Day. We plan to attend CDE and LDE competition this winter and spring. Again, we would like to thank you for the opportunity to allow us to share our chapter events.
And I would also like to say to please follow us on the Marshall FFA Facebook page. It's the Marshall FFA chapter. Please follow us.
Thank you very much. Y'all certainly been very busy. And I think, do you have some apple butter back there for sale? 3 jars. Oh, wow. They went fast. Okay. So we're going to go fast to beat me to one of those 3 jars when this is over. All right. Next on the agenda is a presentation by Stephanie Reynolds on the H2 Ozarks project.
Thank you. Everyone hear me? Okay. We have an office in Missouri as well as in Northwest Arkansas, which is where I'm based. And I'm here today to talk to you guys about the septic remediation program that is in the Buffalo watershed that we have just launched. What the septic remediation, do you want to? Awesome. Thank you. Okay, the septic tank remediation program is using Clean Water State revolving funds. Like I said, we're with H2 Ozarks. This is the area that we cover in the watersheds. The septic remediation pilot program overview is what it is. It's a financial and technical assistance program. There's $1 million from Arkansas Natural Resources Division to repair and replace failing septic systems. This is for homeowners with property anywhere in 3 very important watersheds in Arkansas: the Buffalo River watershed, the Beaver Reservoir watershed, and the Illinois River watershed. We are managing the Buffalo and the Beaver watersheds, and then the Illinois River Watershed Partnership Organization is managing the Illinois River Watershed Grant. The grant for the Buffalo River is from September of 2022 through September of 2025. The Beaver and Illinois River watersheds have been operating for almost 2 years now, and the grant period will end in 2023. We're doing this to reduce non-point source pollution and to provide financial assistance to low-income households. As everyone knows, the Buffalo River watershed is on the state's 303D listing of impaired water bodies, and so we all want to participate in helping clean this river watershed up. So there's $1 million awarded over a 3-year grant period. We provide financial and technical assistance to the homeowners. The only eligibility criteria to participate in the program is that the homeowner must reside in the Buffalo River watershed, and then their septic system must be deemed failing or in need of repair by the Arkansas Department of Health. The financial assistance is a grant/0% interest loan program. The assistance is provided, the grant portion, which is there's no repayment, is on a sliding scale based on taxable income. There is no income cap to participate in the loan portion of the program. The sliding scale, it's also on the brochure. If they household income is $20,000 or less, they're eligible to receive 90% of the grant money for the project, and then they can take out a 0% interest loan for the remaining 10%. The grant portion goes all the way up to $83,000 for financial assistance. So you can actually have an income of $83,000 and still receive a 10% grant portion. We have a very generous repayment program for the 0% interest loan part, and there's up to 10 years of repayment there. We can provide financial assistance up to $30,000 per project. The average cost of replacing a septic system is between $10,000 to $15,000. However, there are some systems that can be up to as much as $30,000 or $35,000 to replace. So how it works is the homeowner will apply for the program. And in the meantime, we contact the health department and they help us identify and verify that the system isn't failing or in need of repair. Then the homeowner will contact a designated representative or a septic designer to redesign their system. Once the design is approved by the health department, the homeowner will solicit 3 bids from licensed septic installers. septic installer must be licensed through the Arkansas Department of Health to qualify for our program. Our organization will then approve whichever bid the homeowner chooses. And then after installation, H2 Ozark, H2 Ozarks will submit reimbursement for our program through Arkansas Natural Resources Division. Sorry, having a little technical difficulties with, there we go. And once the invoices are submitted, and then the homeowner is reimbursed. These are just some examples of some failing septic systems that we have come across in the Beaver Reservoir watershed. Some collapsed tanks. Some more examples of collapsed tanks. And so these are people that have been living for many years with septic water in their yards that they have not had the finances to remediate, and our program has been able to help them. So we're excited to start to offer this in the Buffalo River watershed as well. Some other things that our program can assist with is gray water lines not being tied into the septic systems. And also the straight pipe systems, which I actually was at a property not very far from here on Wednesday, which did not have the gray water line tied in. And it also had this straight pipe, which is basically a pipe coming out from the house. Sometimes there's a tank, sometimes there's not. And then the wastewater is just going right on top of on the ground. So. This is an example of a system we came across. All these pictures are from the Beaver Reservoir watershed, but I'm sure we're going to come across a lot of these pictures to show you guys next time if you want to see them from Buffalo. This is an example of where there were no lateral lines. And so what appears to be a really beautiful spring coming off of the rocks is actually septic water. So some examples of how this project has helped the watershed and the Beaver, as well as homeowners, is this was an example of an elderly couple who had a failing septic problem for over 10 years. They were just living with it and trying to pump it to keep it going. When the grant was awarded in the Beaver Reservoir watershed, they were able to take advantage of this program and get their septic system replaced, and it only ended up costing them $1,100 instead of $11,000. Another example of a project in Elkins that we were able to help with. This homeowner didn't actually qualify for the grant portion, but they were able to take advantage of the loan portion of the program. And so that enabled them to save $4,800 in interest payments that they could use to help their 6 children. So as I've mentioned, we've just launched the program in the Buffalo River watershed. So we've just begun outreaching the program. We've started with some social media, and I know some of you guys have helped share that social media. We appreciate that. We also work closely with the health department and septic professionals. And this week, 4,000 of these mailers will drop in mailboxes within the watershed. And over the next 8 weeks, we plan to drop one in every mailbox within the watershed. So up to 12,000, I believe, 12 to 15,000. We have postcards and rack cards and brochures, flyers, and we would love to ask for you guys' help in outreaching the program and spreading the word. So I have a lot of material on the back board back there. Please feel free to take as much as you would like. If you know places that need it, also take my card and contact me. We would love to come and speak to your communities, provide education about our program and about just general septic maintenance and watershed education. So thank you for your time. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. How many in Searcy County are part of this program right now?
So currently we have 35 requests for requests for information, and we have 2 active projects.
Is that just in this county or the whole Buffalo River watershed?
We don't actually have any active projects yet in Searcy County, but I have a feeling that we will get a lot. We have the 2 projects we have, one is in Newton County and one is in Marion County. But we literally just started putting out our outreach material, and so we hope to get a lot more projects going. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. It's 100% voluntary, so the homeowners come to us. There's nothing mandated. The homeowners learn about our program, hopefully, and are wanting to fix their septic systems, and so they come to us. If they don't want to do it, then there's nothing more that we do. Anybody else?
May I comment?
Please. Thank you, Dr. McMullen.
Stephanie, I appreciate the presentation, and I'm a big fan of this project. You know, when septic systems fail, we have opportunity for, you know, maybe children potentially could be exposed to, you know, things that might make them sick if they're out in the yard. And obviously in this watershed, if it rains, those failing systems, that waste could actually go into the river. And as we all know, we're going to have lots of, you know, people having all different types of activities and exposures to the water. So I think this is just fantastic to be in this watershed. And, you know, again, the health department is entirely supportive of this project. And so if there's anything we can do to help, just let me know.
Thank you. Anybody else?
All right. Thank you very much. I know this program's been very successful in other areas, and I'm sure it will be here too. And we'll certainly do our part from the department to help get the word out. All right, we're down to other business. What we have to report from the department is that we are making substantial progress in the BRCC annual report that's due to the governor and to the legislature by the end of December. We hope to send that out by mid-December. We're very close. We are lacking 1 report and a few other details. But if anybody has any information they'd like included, you can get that to me, Cynthia Edwards. We'll send out information on that. We'll send a copy, the draft out to the BRCC members hopefully next week and let you all review that as well. Secretary Keough, would you like to make any remarks here or have any other business you'd like to bring up?
Well, thanks, Cynthia. Can y'all hear me okay? 'Cause I have gotten to a less mobile place and a little quieter background. So thank you for your patience with me today. I'm happy to join the group. These have been fantastic presentations, and I know very engaged on and excited about the opportunities coming up in 24 around the eclipse and the work that tourism's doing in that area. So, and would love to have a conversation about how we leverage our infrastructure investments as we look at those infrastructure funds coming into the state. How do we make sure those are meaningful and timely for those areas that could benefit from some, you know, fast tracked or updated infrastructure needs, be it temporary or permanent. So I know some of that money won't come that fast, so I'll just bring that up. You know, I know we had an infrastructure planning advisory committee yesterday, and we are starting to see a flow of funds into the state. So while a lot of it's dedicated to certain priorities that were set, you know, by the legislation that was passed, this is the 1st year anniversary. So I would like to talk about that a little bit more. I know I have been approached about some of the electric vehicle charging infrastructure, particularly in the communities that may see increased tourism during that period, and making sure we can do that. And we know some of that, the federal funding is going to primarily stay along the interstates in the first couple of years. But we have a project underway right now at the Department of Energy Environment to meet with stakeholders to identify key areas that might benefit from earlier installations in our rural areas. So I think this priority should be brought up in that conversation. I know as we identify that, then we hope to seek through a competitive grant process the ability to install more stations. faster off the interstate system, but in some of our critical state highways and tourism areas, specifically in our parks and other areas. So there has been, I know that we have at E&E identified or awarded one project to install what we call those fast chargers, which are 30-minute type chargers at the intersection of 65 and Interstate 40 there, just at that 125 exit near Conway. And so we expect that one to be ahead of some of the other installations that will start occurring next year on the highway system, but that will help get folks toward 65, those of you that use 65 to get to your, to that location, some of the tourism. So just bring that up. I'm sure that we need to look at some other locations in your community. So those of you that are in the room, which I'm sorry, I couldn't be there to talk to you personally today, please feel free to reach out, and we will be reaching out as well through our staff and through our consultants to find out your needs. We have done a number of level 2 charger reimbursements already across the state, and we have an additional 200,000 or 300,000 that we will be able to reimburse those locations through a project next year. So that would be probably most advantageous for those that are going to be able to charge their vehicles during the daytime or overnight while they're enjoying your community. So, and those are much less expensive and a little easier to get in place quickly. So I throw that out there. That's just one area that we can help you with at Energy Environment. Of course, our water quality team continues to do their work around monitoring, but also evaluation of our rules for protection of the Buffalo River. And I believe Joe is on the call, and others. If y'all have questions of our department, we're happy to share that information with you. I don't know, Joe, Joe Martin, who is our water quality planning chief, do you have anything to add to that around the water quality side of things? I'm doing this without telling him, so I apologize up front, Joe, for putting you on the spot.
No, that's okay, Secretary Keough. Yes, ma'am. Just a couple quick updates would be that, we expect to hear any day on the results of the 2020 water quality standards revision. So we'll be expecting to hear from EPA very quickly on that, as well as we should be hearing approval on the 2020 303D list. That's been with EPA for probably about 6 months now. So there's some indications that we should be hearing the results of that very quickly. And on top of that, we have been moving forward with our 2022 303D list, and that should be going out for public comment within the next few months. So be looking for that.
Well, and we hope that thank you, Joe. And we hope that these planning, the monitoring and the results of planning, that is information that each of you as organizations can utilize, but also allow you, and working, of course, with our Department of Ag Natural Resources Division, working on watershed management plans around so that we can see true improvements over time. We know some of these things take a while to see that improvement, but we have fortunately seen many areas where we have a listing on the 303D list. We're able to remove that as a result that the water quality does improve due to actions or due to changes in the stream and
Recording in progress.
Senator Irvin's there, I believe, and others I've been hearing. I know I think BRCC is doing a fantastic job of creating an atmosphere for engagement. And I'm very proud of the fact that things are getting done and solutions are coming to the table, such as the presentation we just heard about septic tanks, bringing solutions, not just talking about problems, but actually having a real answer for those that have a need. And so continue to forward to that and look forward to the discussions on how we can respond to the infrastructure needs coming up. So thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Secretary Keough, I think you have a question in the audience here.
Yes, for Secretary Keough, this is Daryl Treat with the Chamber of Commerce in Searcy County. And we are working to get a level 2 charger in Marshall through Today's Power. But when I had heard about the money for the fast chargers, I had reached out to the state, I believe, to see if we could get one of those in the St. Joe area. And we were told that the interstates would be handled first, but I liked what you said, that you might have to reprioritize. And I believe that a 30-minute fast charger in the St. Joe area would be a very good location because of its proximity to Tyler Bend, to Gilbert, to Woolham, Mount Hersey, and Baker Ford access points. And also Highway 65 is a major thoroughfare to Branson. And so I think we've actually got a property owner there and who's wanting to put in EV charger. And so we'd love for you to get back with us or your office if you decide to leave the interstate plan a little bit early, because we'd like to be part of it here in Searcy County.
Well, thank you. And we will get back in touch with you, as I will make sure that Deloitte, who's a consultant for the infrastructure committee and for E&E specifically on this plan, will reach out to you to get those specifics, and we can always, and hopefully we can get those funds identified. Just for the audience sake, those fast chargers are quite a significant investment to meet all and the federal rules aren't even finalized yet, but to meet their requirements, they run roughly up to about $1 million a location. If in terms of total cost. So we've been trying to do significant investment in those. The 3 locations that we've identified early really, I think, took up about 2.5 million that we had available at the state today. Of course, like you said, the highway department funds, I believe they'll be able to complete the infrastructure along the highways by the second or third year of funding. So there will be, probably $20 million remaining to go ahead and populate other locations across our state, but those will come in future years as opposed to the first couple of years. So, but that's all part of the DOT plan that was approved through the Infrastructure Act and US DOT action. So, but we're partnering, like I said, hopefully we will see advanced funding that we can move quicker to St. Joe and some of these other areas. But I'm glad you've done some work on the level 2. Those tend to cost in the tens of thousands as opposed to millions. So you can actually provide multiple locations, especially good places to put those are like at hotels or resorts or parks where someone may be, have an extended 6 to 8 hours as opposed to just 20 or 30 minutes time to do that charging. But appreciate that, and we'll continue to work with you.
I have another question here in the audience.
I'm Gordon Watkins, Buffalo River Watershed Alliance, and I'd like to second Secretary Keough's statement about the good works that BRCC did in its inaugural year. And I think this is a question for you, Senator Ervin, but in the last meeting in Jasper, we've had some discussion about the future of BRCC, particularly in regards to funding. And I'm wondering if anything has progressed on that and what the future holds for BRCC. We'd like to see it continue.
I think you either read my mind or my text messages. I actually think I agree. We have identified problems and we have effectively created solutions in so many areas. I mean, it couldn't be, this is an example that these 4 secretaries are taking back and talking to all of the other secretaries about. kind of using this as a model and replicating it throughout the state because it's really broken down silos between agencies. It's identified really good problems that we have been able to solve. I mean, all the way from water, wastewater infrastructure to feral hogs to broadband. You know, we've done a tremendous amount of work on broadband, infrastructure, water, wastewater, tourism, marketing, public relations, advertising. I mean, all the different things, you know, that's really important to this area and moving this area forward for economic development. So with that, I would ask, I can't technically make a motion because I'm not technically on the committee, but I would ask for our secretaries to make a motion. I think we're good stewards of the $1 million that Governor Hutchinson sent to us. I thought we did a very good job with that. And I would request that we ask for an additional $1 million for our upcoming legislative session. And if the secretaries want to chime in on that, but it would need to be a motion made by one of them. And I would fully support that and take that to the incoming administration of the new governor. But I think it's very important to continue our work, especially in light of the event we're going to have with the solar eclipse. But unpaved roads is something that we just scratched the surface with. We really have so much more work to do on unpaved roads. And then we have so much more work to do on water and wastewater infrastructure, the septic tanks. That's great presentation, but and then tourism. We still have so much to do in the tourism area too, in supporting and working with our national partners. So at this time, I would absolutely ask on behalf of everybody here, I think, and it's been a very grassroots and organic process, and I'm so proud of that. So the folks, you know, in this area have just dug in and come together to solve these problems for our communities up here in this region. And so we're just a great model, and I know other areas are jealous. So with that, I would just ask that they make a motion to support an additional $1 million funding request for the upcoming legislative session.
Do we have that motion?
Yes, ma'am. This is Wes Ward. I'd be more than happy to make the motion as Senator Irvin presented.
And I'm happy to second that motion.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Dr. McMullen, would you like to make any closing comments or any other comments?
I'm sorry, did you ask me?
Yeah, did you want to say anything else before we adjourn? Or
Yeah,
any
so,
other business?
so maybe in the same mindset of Senator Irvin's motion, but you know, at this time of year, I think about being thankful. And I'm thankful to the governor's foresight to bring us together, this committee. And likewise, the support of the legislators and Senator Irvin to make this, you know, move forward kind of in a more permanent fashion. I think that's very good. And of course, the health department is here to help. So anything we can do to promote conservation, water quality, or to promote the health and well-being of the people that live there around the Buffalo, we're here to help. So wonderful, wonderful committee.
Thank you. Any other business? Okay, before we adjourn, I do want to thank Ruth Pepler again. I don't think she was here when I gave her a shout out earlier, but yeah. I don't know how you do all you do, but we're so grateful you took time out of whatever it is you're doing to do lunch today and give us a tour. It was phenomenal. Thank you so much. And again, I urge everyone to go out there if you haven't been to Dogwood Hills Guest Farm. It's wonderful. And thank you all for the use of this facility. It's beautiful. It's interesting. I could spend hours just looking at all these photographs. So thank you for making this available to us today for this meeting. And with that, if there's not any other questions or concerns or comments, we'll close it and call the meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.